Have you ever felt so lonely that your heart ached for just one person to truly see you? Before we begin, please hit that like button, share this story with someone who needs to hear it, and subscribe to Echoes of Yesterday. We love hearing from you, so tell us in the comments where you're watching from right now. Victor Sterling lived in a mansion so big it had 40 rooms, but every single room felt empty. The house sat on top of a hill overlooking the city, with gardens that stretched as far as eyes could see. Crystal chandeliers hung from ceilings like frozen waterfalls. Golden mirrors lined the walls, reflecting nothing but loneliness. Marble floors were so shiny you could see your face in them. But Victor never looked down. He didn't want to see himself in them all. 5 years ago, Victor could walk. He could run. He could dance at fancy parties with beautiful people who laughed at his jokes. Then came the accident. A car crash on a rainy night that changed everything. The doctors saved his life but couldn't save his legs. Now he sat in a wheelchair, rolling through empty hallways, listening to silence echo off expensive walls. Victor was 60 years old, but he felt like 100. His hair had turned white almost overnight after the accident. His face was wrinkled from years of frowning. His hands shook when he tried to hold his coffee cup. He had more money than most people could count. He owned hotels and office buildings and land in 5 different countries. But none of it mattered. Money couldn't buy new legs. Money couldn't buy someone who cared. The mansion had 7 servants. There was Margaret, the head housekeeper who had worked there for 20 years. She was strict and cold, always checking if the floors were clean enough. There was Robert, the butler who brought Victor his meals on silver trays, but never looked him in the eye. There was cook named Henry who made fancy food that Victor barely tasted. There was James, the gardener who kept the roses perfect but never came inside. And there were 3 maids who cleaned the endless rooms, moving like ghosts through the hallways. But these servants didn't care about Victor. They cared about their paychecks. They whispered about him behind closed doors. They called him the angry old man. They said he was mean and bitter and impossible to please. And they were right. Victor yelled when his tea was too hot. He complained when his newspaper arrived 5 minutes late. He fired people for the smallest mistakes. Not because he was cruel, but because he was broken inside. And broken people sometimes break others. Every morning was the same. Victor woke up in his enormous bed, alone. He stared at the ceiling, counting the cracks in the paint. Then Robert would come in, help him into his wheelchair, and roll him to the window. Victor would sit there for hours, looking out at the city below, watching people walk on 2 legs, wishing he could trade all his money for just one more day of being normal. Then one Tuesday morning in early autumn, everything changed. Margaret came into the sitting room where Victor was reading his newspaper. She cleared her throat nervously. "So," she said, "we have a new maid starting today. One of the others quit yesterday." Victor didn't look up from his paper. "Fine. Just make sure she does her job." "Yes, sir. Her name is Lily. She'll be cleaning the West Wing." Victor waved his hand, dismissing Margaret. He didn't care about another maid. They all looked the same to him. They all avoided him the same way. They all counted the minutes until they could leave. But when Lily walked through the door an hour later, something shifted in the air. She was young, maybe 25 years old. Her hair was dark brown, pulled back in a simple bun. She wore the same gray uniform as the other maids, but somehow it looked different on her. Her face was plain but kind. Her eyes were soft, like morning light through curtains. She carried a bucket of cleaning supplies in one hand and a dustcloth in the other. She saw Victor sitting by the window and stopped. For a moment, their eyes met. Most servants looked away quickly when they saw him. They were scared of his anger. They were uncomfortable around his wheelchair. But Lily didn't look away. She smiled. It was a small smile, gentle and real. Then she bowed her head respectfully and walked past him to begin her wake. Victor watched her go, feeling something strange flutter in his chest. He shook his head, trying to ignore it. But he couldn't. He found himself listening to the sound of her footsteps. He found himself watching her reflection in the mirrors as she dusted the furniture. She moved differently than the other servants. She moved with grace, like a dancer who didn't know she was dancing. Days passed. Lily came every morning at 8 o'clock. She cleaned the sitting room, the library, the dining hall, and the West Wing bedrooms. She never spoke unless spoken to. She never complained about the work. She hummed softly while she polished the silver candlesticks. She sang quiet songs while she swept the floors. And slowly, without even trying, she began to fill the empty spaces in the mansion. Victor started waking up earlier just to see her arrive. He would position his wheelchair near whatever room she was cleaning. He pretended to read his newspaper, but really he was watching her work. He noticed little things. The way she touched the flowers gently when she dusted around them. The way she smiled at the paintings on the walls like they were old friends. The way she always said good morning to Robert and Henry, even though they barely answered her. One morning, Victor dropped his pen on purpose. It rolled across the floor and stopped near Lily's feet. She was dusting the bookshelf, her back turned to him. "Excuse me," Victor said, his voice rougher than he meant it to be. Lily turned around quickly. "Yes, sir?" "My pen," he said, pointing. She looked down, saw the pen, and picked it up immediately. She walked over and placed it gently in his hand. Her fingers brushed his for just a second. They were warm. Her hands were rough from work, with small cuts and calluses. But they were the gentlest hands Victor had felt in 5 years. "Thank you," he whispered. "You're welcome, sir," she said softly. Then she smiled that same small smile and went back to her dusting. Victor sat there, staring at the pen in his hand, feeling his heart beat faster. What was happening to him? This was just a maid, just a servant girl who cleaned his house. Why did her smile make him feel warm inside? Why did her voice make the silence less heavy? He didn't understand it, but he didn't want it to stop. Over the next few weeks, Victor found excuses to talk to Lily. He would ask her questions. Simple questions. Is the weather nice today? Did you sleep well? Would you like some tea? She always answered politely, but never stayed long. She had work to do, but Victor could tell she was kind. Not fake kind like the people at his fancy parties used to be. Really kind. The kind of kindness that comes from a good heart. One afternoon, Lily was arranging flowers in a vase near Victor's chair. He watched her work, admiring how carefully she placed each rose. "They are beautiful," he said. "Yes," Lily agreed. Flowers always make a room feel less lonely. Victor's breath caught. Less lonely. Did she know? Could she see how lonely he was? "Do you get lonely?" he asked quietly. Lily paused. She looked at him with those soft eyes, and for a moment he saw sadness there. "Sometimes," she admitted. "But loneliness is part of life, isn't it? We all carry it." "Even you?" Victor asked. "Especially me," she whispered. And in that moment, Victor realized something that shook him to his core. This girl, this humble maid with rough hands and a simple dress, understood his pain. She saw him. Not his money, not his wheelchair, not his anger. She saw his lonely heart. And suddenly, the mansion didn't feel quite so empty anymore. Victor began to change. Slowly, like ice melting in spring. He stopped yelling at the servants. He said please and thank you. He even smiled once or twice. Margaret noticed. Robert noticed. They whispered about it in the kitchen, confused and amazed. But Victor only cared about one thing. He cared about the moments when Lily was near. Because in those moments, he remembered what it felt like to be human. He remembered what it felt like to hope. He didn't know what was growing in his heart. He didn't have a name for it yet. But it was warm and frightening and wonderful all at once. And every night, before he went to sleep, he found himself thinking about her smile. And for the first time in 5 years, he looked forward to tomorrow. Lily walked to the mansion every morning from a small apartment 3 miles away. She shared one tiny room with her younger sister, Sarah, who was sick with a disease the doctors couldn't cure without expensive medicine. Their parents had died when Lily was 18, leaving her to care for Sarah alone. Every penny Lily owned went to rent, food, and medicine. She owned 3 dresses, 2 pairs of shoes, and a coat with a broken zipper. But she never complained. Complaining wouldn't change anything. She took the job at Victor's mansion because it paid more than her old job at the bakery. Margaret, the head housekeeper, had warned her on the first day. "Mr. Sterling is difficult. He's angry all the time. He fires people for the smallest mistakes. Keep your head down, do your work, and don't talk to him unless he talks to you first." Lily had nodded, promising to be careful. But when she first saw Victor sitting in his wheelchair by the window, she didn't see an angry man. She saw loneliness so deep it made her chest hurt. She recognized it because she carried the same loneliness inside herself. Two people, worlds apart, but feeling the exact same pain. She didn't mean to smile at him that first day. It just happened. And she didn't mean to start caring about him. But that happened too. Every morning when she arrived, she noticed little things. Victor's hair was always messy, like he'd been running his hands through it all night. His eyes had dark circles underneath, like he couldn't sleep. His hands trembled when he held his coffee cup. Sometimes she heard him talking to himself, whispering to ghosts she couldn't see. Lily began doing small things to help him. She made sure the sitting room was warm before he came down in the morning. She placed his favorite books within easy reach. She brought him hot tea without being asked, the way he liked it with 1 sugar and no milk. She never mentioned these things. She just did them quietly. And Victor noticed. Oh, how he noticed. He started watching for her every morning. His heart would beat faster when he heard her footsteps in the hallway. He found himself inventing reasons to be in whatever room she was cleaning. He would drop things just to hear her say, "Let me help you, sir." He would ask her questions just to hear her voice. "Lily," he said one morning, "where did you grow up?" She was dusting the portrait of Victor's late wife, a beautiful woman who had died 10 years ago. Lily looked at the painting with sadness in her eyes. "In a small village," she answered softly, "by the sea. It was beautiful there. Do you miss it?" "Every day," she whispered. "But home is wherever you're needed. And right now, I'm needed here in the city." Victor wanted to ask more. Who needed her? Why did she look so sad? But he didn't. He was learning that Lily kept her pain private, just like he did. Another day, Victor asked, "Do you have family?" Lily's hand stopped moving. She was silent for a long moment. "I have a sister," she said finally. "Sarah. She's 16. She's sick." "I'm sorry," Victor said, and he meant it. Lily turned to look at him, surprised by the kindness in his voice. "Thank you, sir," she said. "The doctors say she'll get better with the right treatment. I'm saving money for it." Victor's chest tightened. This girl worked so hard, for so little money, trying to save her sister. While he sat in his mansion surrounded by useless gold, she was fighting to keep her only family alive. "If you need help," Victor began, but Lily shook her head quickly. "No, sir. Thank you, but I can't accept charity. I need to do this myself." Her pride reminded him of himself when he was young. Stubborn, strong, refusing help even when drowning. As weeks turned into months, something grew between them. It wasn't spoken. It wasn't named. But it was there, filling the air like electricity before a storm. Victor found himself thinking about Lily constantly. Not in a wrong way, but in a way that confused and frightened him. He was 60 years old. She was 25. He was trapped in a wheelchair. She was young and full of life. He was rich. She was poor. Nothing about this made sense. But the heart doesn't follow logic. The heart does what it wants. He began to need her presence like he needed air. When she was in the room, the darkness inside him lifted. When she left, it came crashing back. Her smile became his sunrise. Her voice became his favorite song. Her kindness became the only medicine that worked. One evening, Victor was sitting in the library, staring at a photograph in a silver frame. It was a picture of himself from 30 years ago, standing tall and strong, smiling at the camera. He looked at that young man and didn't recognize him anymore. Where did he go? When did he become this broken, bitter old man? Tears filled his eyes. He didn't hear Lily enter the room. She was carrying fresh towels to the bathroom down the hall. But she saw Victor through the open door, saw him crying over the photograph, and her heart broke. She should have kept walking. Margaret's rules were clear. Don't bother Mr. Sterling when he's upset. But Lily couldn't. She just couldn't. She set down the towels and walked quietly into the library. She pulled a clean handkerchief from her apron pocket and held it out to him. Victor looked up, startled. His face was wet with tears. For a moment, he thought about yelling at her for seeing him like this. But he couldn't. He was too tired of pretending to be strong. He took the handkerchief with shaking hands. "Thank you," he whispered. Lily didn't leave. She stood there, her eyes full of compassion that made Victor want to cry harder. "So," she said softly, "whoever that person was in the photograph is still inside you. Pain doesn't erase who we are. It just hides us for a while." Victor stared at her, shocked. How did she know exactly what to say? How did this simple maid have more wisdom than all the doctors and therapists he'd paid thousands of dollars to see? "I don't know how to find him anymore," Victor admitted, his voice breaking. "I've been lost for so long." Lily knelt down beside his wheelchair, something no servant had ever dared to do. She looked up at him with those gentle eyes. "You're not lost," she said. "You're just hurt. And hurt people can heal. It just takes time and someone who cares." "Does anyone care?" Victor asked, tears streaming down his face. Lily hesitated. Then, very quietly, she said, "I care." Those two words changed everything. Victor's heart stopped, then started again, beating so hard he thought it might explode. She cared. This beautiful, kind, impossible girl cared about him. Not about his money. Not about his mansion. About him. He reached out with trembling hands and touched her face, just barely, like she might disappear if he pressed too hard. "Why?" he whispered. "Why do you care about a broken old man?" Lily's eyes filled with tears. "Because broken things can be beautiful," she said. "And because when I look at you, I don't see a wheelchair or an angry man. I see someone who's been hurt. Someone who's lonely. Someone who needs a friend." Victor couldn't speak. He just cried, and Lily stayed there beside him, her hand resting gently on his arm, giving him the human touch he'd been starving for. That night, after Lily went home, Victor sat by his window watching the moon. His mind was racing. His heart was confused. He felt things he hadn't felt in decades. Warmth, hope, connection, and something else. Something dangerous and wonderful that he didn't dare name yet. He was falling in love with his maid. It was impossible. It was foolish. It was wrong in so many ways. But it was happening anyway, like a river that couldn't be stopped. And the terrifying part? He thought maybe, just maybe, she was falling too. He saw it in the way she looked at him when she thought he wasn't watching. He heard it in the softness of her voice when she spoke his name. He felt it in the gentle way she touched his hand when giving him his tea. But what could he do? He was old and crippled. She was young and full of life. He had nothing to offer her but money, and she'd already refused that. All he had was a lonely heart and a mansion full of expensive sadness. Victor didn't sleep that night. He just stared at the ceiling, thinking about Lily's words. Broken things can be beautiful. Could that be true? Could someone like her really care about someone like him? The mansion felt different now. It wasn't just empty rooms and cold marble anymore. It was a place where Lily smiled, where Lily sang, where Lily existed, and that made it feel almost like home. But Victor knew something was building between them, something that couldn't stay hidden much longer. Feelings as strong had to come out eventually, and when they did, everything would change. He just didn't know if that change would heal him or destroy him completely. 3 months had passed since Lily first walked through the mansion doors. 3 months of stolen glances and whispered conversations. 3 months of Victor's heart slowly coming back to life. But 3 months was also too long to hold a secret this big inside his chest. It was burning him from the inside out, demanding to be released. The night it all changed started with rain. Not gentle spring rain, but the kind of storm that shakes windows and turns the sky black as midnight even though it was only 7 in the evening. Thunder rolled across the hills like drums announcing something important was about to happen. Lightning cracked the sky open, flooding the mansion with brief bursts of white light. Victor sat in his usual spot by the window in the library, watching the storm. The rain reminded him of the night of his accident 5 years ago. Another storm. Another moment when everything changed. He wondered if the night would be like that too. If something was about to shift in his world again. Most of the servants had gone home early because of the weather. Margaret left at 5. Robert and Henry followed soon after. The mansion was quiet except for the sound of rain hammering against the roof. Victor assumed he was alone. He liked it that way sometimes. Silence was better than fake conversation. But then he heard footsteps in the hallway. Soft, familiar footsteps that made his heart race. Lily appeared in the doorway, carrying a candle. The electricity had gone out a few minutes ago, and the mansion was dark except for the lightning that kept cutting through the shadows. She wore her gray uniform, and her hair was slightly wet from running through the rain on her way in that morning. She'd stayed late to finish her work, not wanting to leave tasks undone. "So," she said softly, her voice barely louder than the rain, "I brought you a candle. I thought you might need light." Victor turned his wheelchair toward her. In the flickering candlelight, she looked like an angel. Her face glowed soft and warm. Her eyes held so much kindness it hurt to look at. "Thank you, Lily," he said, "but you should go home. The storm is getting worse." "I will," she said, setting the candle on the table beside him. "I just wanted to make sure you were all right first." She turned to leave, but Victor's voice stopped her. "Lily, wait." She paused, looking back at him with questions in her eyes. "Please," Victor said, his voice shaking. "Don't go yet. Stay with me, just for a few minutes." Lily hesitated. This wasn't proper. Servants shouldn't stay alone with their employers in empty mansions. But the way Victor looked at her, so desperate and vulnerable, made it impossible to say no. "All right," she whispered. "I'll stay." She walked over and sat in the chair across from him. The rain pounded harder. Thunder shook the walls. And in that dark library lit only by one small candle, two lonely souls sat together in silence. Victor stared at Lily, his heart hammering so hard he thought she must be able to hear it. He had rehearsed this moment in his head 1,000 times. He had practiced what he would say. But now that she was here, sitting so close he could see the candlelight reflecting in her eyes, all his words disappeared. "Lily," he began, then stopped. His throat felt tight. "Yes, sir," she said gently. "I need to tell you something," Victor continued, his hands gripping the arms of his wheelchair. "Something I've been holding inside for too long. But I'm afraid. I'm afraid if I say it, everything will change. You'll leave. You'll never look at me the same way again." Lily leaned forward, concern filling her face. "Mr. Sterling, you can tell me anything. I promise I won't judge you." Victor took a deep breath. This was it, the moment that would either save him or destroy him. "Ever since you came to this house," he said, his voice cracking, "my world has been different. The darkness lifted. The silence became bearable. You brought light into a place that had been dead for 5 years. And I don't know how it happened or when it happened, but Lily, I need you." Lily's breath caught. Her eyes went wide. "I need you like I need air," Victor continued, tears starting to flow down his weathered cheeks. "I need your smile. I need your kindness. I need your presence. I'm 60 years old and broken, and I have nothing to offer you except a lonely heart. But that heart is yours. Whether you want it or not, it belongs to you now." Thunder crashed so loud it sounded like the sky was breaking apart. "What I'm trying to say is," Victor whispered, his whole body trembling, "I need love, Lily. I need to be loved. I need to matter to someone. And I know this is impossible. I know I'm just a foolish old man. But I can't keep pretending anymore. I can't keep hiding what I feel." Lily stood up slowly. Victor's heart sank. She was going to leave. She was going to run away and never come back. He'd ruined everything. But she didn't run. Instead, she walked closer to his wheelchair. She knelt down in front of him, just like she had that day in the library. Her eyes were filled with tears that caught the candlelight like stars. "Don't move," Victor whispered suddenly, staring at her face like he was trying to memorize every detail. "Please, don't move. Let me look at you. Let me remember this moment before you go." But Lily didn't move to leave. She moved closer. She reached out and took his trembling hands in hers. Her touch was warm and real and everything he'd been dreaming about for months. "Mr. Sterling," she said softly. "Victor, I'm not going anywhere." Victor's eyes went wide. "What?" "I'm not leaving," Lily repeated, tears streaming down her face now. "Because I need love too. I need it just as much as you do. And I've been so scared to admit it. Scared that I was crazy for feeling this way about a man so far above me. But I care about you, Victor. Not because you're rich. Not because you own this mansion, but because you see me, really see me, and that's worth more than all the money in the world. Victor couldn't believe what he was hearing. His heart felt like it was going to burst. But I'm old, he said desperately. I'm in a wheelchair. I can't give you a normal life. I can't dance with you or walk with you or be the man you deserve. Lily smiled through her tears. I don't need you to walk, she said. I don't need you to be young or perfect. I need you to be honest. I need you to be kind. I need you to see me like you do now, like I matter, and you do all those things already. She squeezed his hands tighter. You want to know what happened when you opened the wrong door that first day I was here? Lily asked. When our eyes met, and you didn't look away like everyone else does. My whole world changed too. I saw past your anger and your wheelchair and your walls. I saw a beautiful soul trapped inside pain, and I wanted to help set it free. Victor pulled her hands to his chest, holding them over his heart. You did set me free, he whispered. You saved me, Lily. Without even knowing it, you saved my life. They sat there in the darkness, the storm raging outside, holding each other's hands like they were the only solid things in a shaking world. And slowly, carefully, Lily rested her head against Victor's knee. It was a small gesture, but it spoke volumes. It said, I'm here. I'm not afraid. You're not alone anymore. Victor reached down and gently touched her hair. It was soft under his fingers. He'd dreamed of this moment, but never thought it would actually happen. What do we do now? He asked quietly. Lily looked up at him, her face glowing in the candlelight. We figure it out together, she said simply. One day at a time. I'll keep working here if you want. Or I can leave and you can court me properly if that's more respectable. I don't care what people think. I only care what you think. Victor laughed through his tears. It was the first real laugh he'd had in 5 years. I don't care what people think either, he said. Let them talk. Let them whisper and judge and shake their heads. They don't know what loneliness feels like. They don't know what it's like to find light in the darkness. He cupped her face gently in his hands. Stay, he said. Stay here with me. Not as my maid. As my companion. My friend. My family. Let me take care of you and your sister. Let me help pay for Sarah's treatment. Let me give you a real home. Victor, Lily protested weakly. That's too much. I can't accept all that. Yes, you can, Victor said firmly, because love isn't just words and feelings. Love is action. Love is helping the people who matter to you. And you matter to me more than anything in this world. Please, let me help you. Lily cried harder, but they were happy tears now. Okay, she whispered. Okay, yes, I'll stay. Victor pulled her up gently until she was sitting on the arm of his wheelchair. He wrapped his arms around her, holding her close, feeling her warmth, her realness, her life mixing with his. And for the first time since his accident, he felt whole. The storm outside began to calm. The thunder grew distant. The rain softened to a gentle patter against the windows. It was like the universe itself was sighing in relief, happy that two broken people had finally found each other. Thank you, Victor whispered into Lily's hair. Thank you for seeing me. Thank you for caring. Thank you for staying. Thank you for loving me, Lily whispered back, for making me feel like I matter. They stayed like that for hours, talking quietly, sharing their fears and hopes and dreams. Victor told Lily about his late wife, how he'd loved her but never felt the deep connection he felt with Lily. Lily told Victor about her childhood by the sea, about her parents' death, about her fears for Sarah's future. They opened their hearts completely, holding nothing back. And as the night turned into early morning, as a candle burned down to a small flicker, Victor and Lily made a promise to each other. They promised to be honest, to be kind, to face the world together no matter what came. They promised that love would be their foundation, stronger than money, stronger than age, stronger than any obstacle in their way. The next morning, when the other servants returned to work, they found something shocking. Victor and Lily sitting together in the library, fallen asleep in each other's arms. The candle had burned out, the storm had passed, and two people who had been lost in darkness had finally found their way to light. Margaret gasped when she saw them. Robert's eyes went wide. The whispers started immediately, spreading through the mansion like wildfire. But Victor and Lily didn't care. They faced the gossip together, hand in hand. Victor made the announcement that same day. Lily was no longer his maid. She was his companion, his partner, his chosen family. Anyone who had a problem with it could leave. And surprisingly, no one left. Because when they saw the way Victor looked at Lily, the way he smiled for the first time in years, they understood. This wasn't scandal. This was healing. This was love in its purest, most beautiful form. Victor paid for Sarah's treatment, and within months, she was healthy again. Lily moved into the mansion with her sister, and suddenly the empty rooms were filled with laughter and music and life. Victor started going outside again, letting Lily push his wheelchair through the gardens he hadn't visited in years. They had picnics under the oak trees. They watched sunsets together. They built a life that neither of them had dreamed was possible. And every night before bed, Victor would hold Lily's hand and say the same thing. "Thank you for teaching me that broken things can be beautiful. That age doesn't matter when hearts connect. That love doesn't need perfect circumstances. It just needs two people willing to take a chance." And Lily would smile and reply, "Thank you for teaching me that I'm worth loving, that my dreams matter, that kindness and courage can change everything." The mansion on the hill wasn't just a house anymore. It was a home. It was filled with hope and second chances and the kind of love that heals old wounds. Victor Sterling, the bitter old millionaire, had become Victor Sterling, the man who learned that true wealth isn't measured in money. It's measured in moments of connection, in hands held during storms, in whispered confessions in candlelight, in choosing to love when the world says you shouldn't. And it all started with 4 words whispered in the darkness. "I need love. Don't move." Those words changed 2 lives forever. They prove that love doesn't follow rules. It doesn't care about age or status or wheelchairs. Love just cares about 2 souls recognizing each other in the dark and choosing to be brave enough to hold on. And Victor and Lily held on tight for the rest of their days, never letting go.